I have people in the office, I am unworthy, I am unlovable, I am not enough, I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, I'm weak, I'm disgusting, I'm terrified, I'm out of control. So EMDR gets hold of these sensations, and I appreciate I'm giving kind of a long answer to this, but I want to give as much context to the audience as possible.
This is really, really powerful.
So people say to me sometimes, do you think people know what they're ashamed of? I'm like, yes.
Of course they do.
Because mine lived here, like just bubbling, as you were saying, just every day, kind of just there. And I was doing enough to manage it or be perfect enough to like put it aside to bed one night and then back again tomorrow to be more perfect so it didn't come up again. Wow. Or, I was out running or trying to, or whatever it might be to try and manage it, or whatever you're using, doing, seeing, whoever, and people know what they don't want to come out. People know what they're masking. People know what they're trying to shove deeply down into their system that won't possibly emerge so that it can't be in the light and you won't judge me or see my shame. People know what they're ashamed of. You may not have the exact words, but you certainly have experiences or feelings or sensations. So what EMDR does is it allows you to be with fully the experience that you're so afraid of. And not only that, because it brings on your three brain centers. So you've got your prefrontal cortex here, which is times, dates, lists. Just behind it, Broca's area, language, which is very often why in trauma, people say something like, I remember what they were wearing. I can tell you about the car, but I don't remember what they said. Because those two areas go offline straight away in trauma. Not needed. What we need to do is stay alive. Staying alive centers, amygdala, limbic system, prehistoric brains where the trauma responses live. So fight, flight, freeze, which most of us know about. Other two, flop, pass out on the spot. Number 5, fawn, placate, say I'm sorry, go along with it, be up for it in periods of being deeply, deeply terrified. So what's happening in our trauma responses is, and I really, 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 really want to make one point that if people listening to this come away with one thing, this is it. You never, ever, ever get to choose your trauma response because people hold shame for why they acted in a certain way or why they didn't act in a certain way. Why didn't I push the chair back and tell my father to fuck off and leave and insist that my mother took me somewhere safe? Because I was 7 and I was terrified and I didn't have the language or the words. Why didn't I, in a encounter with someone that was being emotionally or coercively controlling in a romantic relationship, leave or stand up for myself? Because I was so afraid, because
otherwise
my self-worth
known as a narcissist.
Completely, because my self-worth had been destroyed, because I'd been gaslighted and believing over years and chipped away at myself that somehow, and lying on top of all of this trauma that lived within me that person also knew about, that was being leveraged into effectively highlighting all of my wounds. Now, was I wrong for behaving in that way? No, my trauma response takes over to activate so that I don't find myself in real danger, and it chooses for you. So a good example that I often give that everyone can relate to is, let's just say we were outside having a chat and someone came over and they were really rude to you, like for no reason. And you might be a bit like, and then we come back in here and you'd have the perfect response. So all of a sudden it comes back to you like, oh, I should have said this. Or why didn't I say that to them? And it's because in the instant, you're actually shocked and your system is reading for dangers. There's now someone's come up to you unexpectedly, probably quite aggressive in their stance. You've possibly elicited a bit of a functional freeze. And then maybe even you find yourself apologising. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to park my car there. Or sorry, I didn't know that you were due in here. And you come away, you go, why was I saying sorry to them when they were really rude to me? And then we take on shame. Why did I react like that? Why am I such a people pleaser? Why am I so weak? And it's because your system has leapt in to a situation that's really unsafe. And that's such an important point for people to take away from here, that carry shame for times that they have acted in a way they wouldn't choose to. Tell you why. You never chose it. You never chose it. Your system chose it for you to keep you alive. Are you still alive? Yes. Have terrible things also happened to you? Probably also yes. So EMDR is a place that we can unpack it, because when we're doing bilateral stimulation, you either do eye movement. I don't know what you had.
Yes.
Yeah, this is eye movement with fingers or a light, or you can also tap on people's palms or upturned on the knees as well. So there's different ways of doing it if people can look or not. When you're doing the eye movement or the bilateral stimulation, it's keeping the prefrontal cortex online and the Broca's area. Wow. So when you're re-experiencing the event, rather than living it, again, through the limbic system, the amygdala, the emotional center, which we get to and we get the fear and we get completely re-triggered and flooded and you have all the same sensations, you've actually got, if you like, the other lens to apply to why we did or what we didn't. Now, also when you go through trauma, because this has gone offline, to get all the blood here to keep us alive.
Yep.
We think it's not remembering, but it is. It's tagging things all the time. So it's tagging the aftershave you're wearing. It's tagging the shoes she's got on. It's tagging the green colours here.
Right.
So if I found myself in a bar on holiday that subconsciously I can smell something that you've got on, or I can see a flash of a colour and something had happened to me here, I could be very instantly re-triggered into that place completely in my body. And then I start thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I having a panic attack here? I'm completely safe. This is my favourite place. I'm on holiday. Oh, I probably shouldn't go on holiday anymore. Or, oh, I'm on a plane and I'm feeling uncomfortable. So actually I'll make it harder for me and get the train all the way to the south of France. Or, oh, now, do you see what I mean? You start changing the way you live your life. Anxiety starts you changing the way you live your life. And this is again where when we have all of the centres on, we can have the full view rather than being in this area. And we're able to discharge it. And as I'm sure was your experience, as was mine, that memory had lived and haunted me for 30 years of thinking, knowing that I wasn't, but thinking that maybe, just maybe I am a bit of a bad girl and maybe I shouldn't have done it. And maybe how life would have been different if I hadn't have just been myself. And so it's better not to be me. The second I had that EMDR session and I saw it for what it was, and I was, younger than my daughter is now, and understanding there's not one thing that I could have ever said, nothing that she could ever say that would ever warrant even a hint of that response. No. What happens is you're flooded with self-compassion and shame just leaves the building. And that is the greatest part of my job, is when I get to witness someone, they lost a loved one. They were the last person to see them and they haven't been able to be with the memory of them since. There was nothing I could have done differently. I did everything I could. Someone who was the last person to see their parent before they took their own life. I was only a child. There was nothing I could have done differently. Assault, violence, all of the things when people think they were weak and in fact they suddenly go, actually, I was really heroic to do that. And that is just the most incredible part of my job. I feel so honoured, as I say, to witness that with people. And then my experience having had EMDR, it's changed the way I live my life because it changed the way I saw myself.